and growing up in rural western North Dakota, birds mark the seasons. So in the fall, sandhill crane migration started. You knew fall was coming, regardless of the weather, the temperature. In the spring, when that first western meadowlark showed up on the fence post out behind the house, and you heard him sing, you're like, oh, we made it through another winter. So it's these markers of time, both from the seasons and then those places in your lives where you have that interaction with a bird that just anchors that, and for me, creates these permanent memories of beauty, of wonder, of what did I just see? So for me, in a way, birds are magic because they can hold that time so well.
I like birds because they're a lot of fun to watch. I'm not an intense lister, but I love watching birds. It's fun to just see them in passing or go out and looking for them, but not with a lot of pressure. That's the way that I usually prefer to bird, just enjoying the species that I get to see, not necessarily being too fussy about the ones that I don't get to see.
Birds are important to me because they are a great incentive to explore nature, really get to observe niche things. Like when you're walking through a trail or hiking through the mountains, birds like really get you to look at specific trees. Like they catch your attention and things that you might miss when you're just focused on completing your hike. So they're a great way to pause and enjoy.
You know, what draws me to birds is the fact that I feel like my soul gets filled up. Like I spend the summer watching a Say's phoebe nest above my door, watching them fledge and, you know, watching them succeed and crying when they don't. You know, I don't know if I can describe it, but it makes me happy inside.
When I was young, my dad took his life. And as a small unit left behind, one of the pieces that we decided together was this idea of reincarnation. And I have always seen my dad in a red-tailed hawk. And at every important step in my life since the winter of 1998, I have had a visual on a red-tailed hawk. There is something really enchanting to me about the sounds of two red-tailed hawks circling high above you when you are out in the grasslands. And I don't know exactly where it takes me, but it feels really big.
Birds mean a lot to us as well. Bird Conservancy of the Rockies envisions a future where birds are forever abundant, contributing to healthy landscapes and inspiring human curiosity and love of nature. Put simply, we believe the world needs birds. We are putting in the work to make our vision a reality. For over 36 years, across more than a dozen states and 3 countries, our team has been making lasting positive impacts for birds, people, and the land. From grasslands to wetlands, forests to cities, we have enhanced and restored millions of acres and touched the lives of hundreds of thousands of people. Birds came into Bird Conservancy of the Rockies' life in 1988 when a group of concerned scientists came together at Barr Lake in Brighton, Colorado, with the goal of addressing the causes of avian population loss. In the 3 decades since our founding, we have grown into a leader in the field of bird monitoring and data collection, created a comprehensive education program connecting people to the natural world, and instituted a land stewardship program focused on the nexus of landowners, agricultural producers, natural resources, and wildlife habitat. That's the story of how birds came into our life. And so we ask you, how did birds come into yours?
Yeah, I knew I was hooked on birds when I held my first bird. Bird banding is a transformational experience for so many people. And holding that bird, I mean, it just gives me chills just thinking about that first bird that I held. Being able to put a band on that bird and be able to learn something about its biology, yeah, and it changed my life.
I was actually at the Barr Lake banding station when I was doing my master's, so that was my first interaction with birds and bird species. That was obviously hosted by the Bird Conservancy of the Rockies, and that was a really, not only a beautiful experience to see the mist netting, but also being able to just walk Barr Lake and see the variety of species that, you know, live there and use the space was very cool. And definitely sparked my interest in bird conservation and bird research.
My grandparents used to own a small fishing resort in northern Minnesota, and we would visit there every summer. So we're in northern Minnesota, there are common loons around everywhere. And so growing up, it was amazing. It was my favorite thing to sit on the porch and listen to them.
My grandfather and step-grandmother took me birding when I was 7. I was in the back seat of her Rambler, and she would always make homemade cookies to take along for the ride, and binoculars, and we'd often set out.
We were in Denver. I don't remember exactly where we were. I was really small. And it was just one of those little places where they put bird seed in your hand and then the birds will land on your hand. And I just remember that being really magical.
But that magic is threatened, and we are facing a crisis. Bird populations are declining. Wildlife habitat is disappearing at an alarming pace. People are increasingly disconnected to the natural world around them. Something must be done. But Bird Conservancy of the Rockies is up to the task. We are in the field with landowners and partners, finding innovative ways to restore and enhance bird habitat. Our scientists work at the leading edge of data collection and analysis, finding insights into the causes and solutions to bird population declines. Our educators are implementing thoughtful and enduring classroom and field experiences for people of all ages and experiences. And we aren't alone in the fight to save birds. We operate on a foundation of community, partnership, and generosity. Our work is sustained through the support, passion, and love from people just like you.
They have been such an inspiration for so many things, whether that is architecture or science or art and poetry and songs. They're just so inspirational in so many ways. And it would just be a huge loss to not only our ecosystems, but our societies as a whole if birds were gone.
They represent hope for so many people. If we as conservationists don't do something to protect birds, I think the world will be a different place. And it will be a sadder place, a place that doesn't have melody and joy in it.
I feel so blessed to have 2 little granddaughters, and I get to share my joy about birds with them. And I feel as though it's critical for them to understand how important it is to have birds and wildlife and nature in their world.
Without bird camp, our birds, I wouldn't be in this position. I probably wouldn't have gone to the college I'm going to study the thing I'm studying. Without that, my whole life would be different.
A world without birds, for me, is really a world without hope. The sense of relief, joy, expectancy, and hope that comes with hearing different bird song throughout the year. A world without birds becomes a place that gets anchored in maybe more surviving than having hope and thriving.
We have these sort of colloquialisms for a reason. A canary in a coal mine is our indicator for safety. Here we are in the bigger example of the coal mine. We've created this world and birds are our indicator, and we are not well. And if habitat loss and fragmentation is the driving force of bird loss, we have the ability to make decisions to stop that fragmentation and curb that loss and restore many of those habitats to functionality.